So I want to start, sir, by reading to you very quickly the criteria which are now on the website of the National Commission for Backward Classes for including a community as a backward class. It says, sir, castes and communities. There, first of all, sir, these criteria are divided into three, as you may know: social, educational, and economic. They have to fulfill any community, any caste or any community generally considered as socially backward. That's number one. Number two, castes and communities which mainly depend on agriculture and or other manual labor for their livelihood and are lacking any significant resource base. Castes and communities which for their livelihood mainly depend on agricultural and or other manual labor for wage and are lacking any significant base. Castes and communities, the women of which, as a general practice, are for their family's livelihood engaged in agricultural and or other manual labor for wage. Castes and communities, the children of which, as a general practice, are for families' livelihood of a supplementing families' low income, mainly engaged in agriculture and or manual labor. Castes and communities which in terms of the caste system, not as castes, in terms of the caste system, are identified with traditional crafts or traditional or hereditary occupations considered to be lowly or undignified. So this is a stigma, sir. Castes and communities which in terms of the caste system are identified with traditional or hereditary occupations considered to be unclean or stigmatized. Nomadic and semi-nomadic castes and communities. Denotified or Vimukta Jati castes and communities. Caste and this is social, sir. Then this I consider political, although there is no subheading. Caste and communities having no representation or poor representation in the state legislative assembly and or district level Panchayati Raj institutions during the 10 years preceding the date of the application. The term poor representation may be taken to refer to a caste or community whose presence in the body is less than 25% of its proportion in the population. Educational. Castes and communities whose literacy rate is at least 8% less than the state or district average. Castes and communities of which the proportion of matriculates is at least 20% less than the state, and of which the proportion of graduates is at least 20% less than the state. Economic criteria, sir. To be a socially and educationally backward class, you have to fulfill the following economic criteria. Castes and communities, a significant proportion of whose members reside only in kacha houses. Castes and communities, the share of whose members in number of cases and in extent of agricultural land surrendered under the Agricultural Land Ceiling Act of the state is nil or significantly low. Castes and communities, the share of whose members in state government posts and services of Group A and B, classes 1 and 2, is not equal to the population equivalent proportion of the caste or community. So any caste or any community, any group of people that fulfills these criteria are entitled to be a socially and educationally backward class, which is why, sir, this Honorable Court very rightly recommended that transgenders be included as an OBC community. Transgenders. The National Commission of Backward Classes has recommended that orphans be included in the list of OBCs. So this category, created by the founding fathers of our Constitution, has yielded the desired result. It has become the main category uniting the common people of this country across religion and across caste, across region, across geography, as backward classes, fighting for greater representation and a greater share of voice in this country. And as I mentioned last time, sir, every Varna is represented, every religion is represented, every Muslim in Kerala belongs to the backward classes because they really suffer from deprivation. So the first point I want to make very simply, sir, is to rebut this idea that this reservation for communities that fulfill these criteria is being repeatedly vilified as casteist reservation. What is the basis, sir? A caste is entitled to be a class. But casteist mindsets see a class only as a caste because they cannot see anything else other than a caste when they look. So therefore, I think we must recognize the value of creating a uniting category that cuts across various kinds of deprivation, and we must strengthen it. Now, is that being abused? Yes. What is not abused? And that's why the National Commission for Backward Classes rejected that Jat should be made backward classes. And the government, for political reasons, then government went ahead and gave them OBC category. So these mechanisms are working, sir. And I'm the first to say that these criteria must be strictly applied for the objective of giving voice and representation to people who are living in this condition. And they must be reviewed, monitored, and people who are not in these conditions, which frankly bring tears to my eyes, sir, when I read these conditions. We are talking of actual people, that they should have voice and a share. Otherwise, what is the purpose of our having freedom and democracy, sir? But it should be monitored, and it is not. But we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater, sir.